All right, welcome back to another episode. Even though it is what it's podcast, it is what it is. I have a special content feature called ABC Chats with my friend, my buddy, sales executive, and all around good guy, Alexander Brockman. Today we're covering Salesology, really focusing on organizational evolution. So for all you CEOs out there, business leaders, entrepreneurs, SVPs, directors, whatever and however you are, this is really dedicated to you. We really want organizations to grow, to evolve, to understand that the way business is being done will not be sustainable in the future. So we got my man Alex, host, as long as me, co-host of ABC Chats on LinkedIn. Hit him up on Alexander Brockman. He's on LinkedIn. Hit him up soon after this. And we're just going to kick it off. Alex, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, Cody. I'm doing good. Excited to that we've kind of thrown some ideas out there as to, what's really going to make, the best conversation for us today. And so I hope everybody gets something out of it. There's a ton of stuff that's going on today that, wasn't a reality 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. And so, I think there's a lot that we can cover something. We can be talking for 6 hours and not even touch the surface of it. So, I think that we bring a different perspective. We're at a different juncture in our career than, kind of the mean average of people in sales. And so I think we just have, a little bit of maybe a different view on this. And, it's something that if we all work together, I think we can come up with a better solution.
That's true. Like, I want to kick it off because I want to get your insight. You have landed some amazing deals. You have built pipeline. I've always said if there was somebody I was chasing, it'd be Alexander Brockman. Now, when it comes to sales, any boss is going to look at the funnel, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is it quality or is it quantity or is it possible to do both?
Man, there's the thing that when I hear quality over quantity, you can't have one without the other. And let me explain it like this. You can't be somebody that only shoots for the moon all the time and goes for the mega deals and goes for, the 8-figure deals or something like that. You can't just be that and only have that be the criterion for your success. There's going to have to be things that incrementally fill in and, come in. There's going to be stuff that's outside of your ideal client profile. There's going to be things that are maybe a little bit outside of your comfort zone that you're going to have to put into your organization. That's going to have to be something that, kind of keeps the train on the tracks for a while so that the other things that, are your main focus, those things have the opportunity to mature, that the process can, unfold the way that it needs to. So quality over quantity, you obviously focus on quality. And quantity is going to just have to be a thing that you deal with. It's going to be something where it might not have the, what am I trying to say? The quality thing is going to be the thing that I focus on. Let me just stop speaking in generalities. I'll go right to it. I focus on quality. I focus on the things where I know that we are the best fit for this. But there's going to be things that come in through marketing. There's going to be things that come in through networking events. There's going to be things that come in from a whole broad spectrum of ways that we get our brand and ourselves out there that may not feel like the ideal fit right away, but they may mature into that. But the things that I'm doing on an active prospecting thing, the thing that I'm going out and I'm trying to build up my funnel the way that I want it to be, those are all quality based. I'm only focusing on quality in those. So does that answer your question? Does that kind of get to the essence of what you were trying to get from that?
Yeah, let me dig a little deeper.
Let's go.
Is it better? And what I mean to be lucky, I mean, like you said, sometimes deals come and they fall out of the sky, right? There's any type of channel that they come through is possible. And then all of a sudden you have a name and an account. But is it worth spending time on something that hasn't been validated, because the reality is when it comes to sales, it's like you never really know, right? Like you can have somebody that likes you, laughs at your jokes, agrees to the Zoom meeting, and never shows up. And then you can have somebody that is a complete butthole, and you know what I'm saying, and buy. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
What would you rather have? Like, is it the suspense, or can you really validate a quality lead?
There's only so many different things. And I mean, machine learning and artificial intelligence has been trying to figure this out for the last, 30 years. They really have been. They've been doing every little thing that they possibly can to try and train a computer to figure out what qualifies somebody to look and feel like people that you've done business with before. And then kind of throw that overlay on the universe, anybody else that could come into your pipeline, anything. And there's this whole element of human beings that are that unquantifiable thing that you cannot necessarily wrap your computer algorithm around. And so you can't figure it out until you go through the process and vet them. You just have to. When people are coming in, you just have to go through that process and figure it out. I work right now. We're going through that process of kind of getting all the different nuts and bolts all figured out and put in place within our system internally. But there's still, a whole swath of people that come in, and, maybe 90% of them don't matriculate. But just last week, one of them did. And so had I just cast it all aside and said, I'm not going to worry about people that come in through the website, we would have missed out on a really nice opportunity to do business with somebody that really needs our help. And so I can't fully say one side or the other, that, hey, you just have to focus on the main thing that you can focus on. If there are people that are coming in and that your SEO and your Google, your ad search and your AdWords and all the stuff is bringing people in from the outside, you just have to go through that process of putting them in a sequence and figuring out if they are a good lead or not. And yeah, there are going to be things where you just get entered into, kind of the guy on the inside or the gal on the inside that has their preferred vendor in mind, but they were told that they needed to add 3 or 4 different ones to make it look like there was an actual process. But you just don't know until you find it, and you got to give it your best shot. And so I've had a lot of deals that didn't go through, that were part of kind of that rhythm where it's coming in from the outside. It sounds like an attractive opportunity. And so I've tempered the way that I view them a little bit differently, and the amount of time that I invest in them is a little bit different than maybe whenever, I was early and trying to build up the pipeline, and anything that is pipeline worthy is what I'm going to, just go 1,000 miles an hour after. I have the luxury right now of being able to focus more intently on the things that are actually a really good fit for us, and the stuff that falls outside of that scope, I just have to, monitor the amount of time that I'm investing in it.
That makes sense. You really hit on and talked about having the time to really focus on what truly matters. Culture is everything, right?
Yeah.
And I think right now we are having what I call a market condition slump. Even though the economy is improving, we have now decreased to 11.1% unemployment, 4.5 million jobs added in June. We're still not out of the woods, right?
No way.
Resources have been impacted. So when you have your organizational team and your revenue driving team, and the tendency to panic is there, right? How do you lead your team out of this slump? Because is it the rookie mistake? I won't say rookie mistake. Is it the rookie mistake of, $50, $100, $200? Is it something you could turn on, or is it something that you just have to get through these murky waters?
The whole getting out of the slump thing, everybody, if you're fortunate enough to have a job right now, and you're in sales, I would just consider it a good day, because typically, if you look historically just at a lot of the numbers, the number one job category that goes first in recessions and downturns is sales. That's just kind of it's the old blueprint from, the MBA schools that said, this is the team that you start gutting first. which doesn't really make sense to me, but that's neither here nor there. The question was, how do you get out of a slump? The way that I've been focusing on this right now, and you let me know if this is addressing it in particular, but the way that I've been focusing on it is there are three groups of people, three different distinctive groups of businesses that I can basically just put everybody into one of three buckets. First bucket, their hair's on fire because COVID or whatever the pandemic or the reason for the downturn is causing their business to increase. So their hair's on fire. They're going crazy. They need help. They've got a lot of problems.
Right.
The second group would be the people that, they're taking a hit, but they're still in my ideal client profile. The third group is they're really not in my ideal client profile. They're in kind of my contact system for somehow, some way. But they're getting smashed, and I just need to set up a sequence to let them know that hey, we're still here. If there's anything that we can do to help, if there's any questions that you have, let us know. But those are the three buckets. I'm going to be investing my time appropriately to get out of that slump. The way that you kind of stay in the trough is by doing the same things that you were doing 6 months ago when there wasn't this whole global pandemic thing. Stuff has changed. Your approach has to change. The way that you value your time has changed, and you need to focus on getting to the people that, are actually in need of your services right now. The people that have big problems, the people that match up with who you can actually serve. And so those are the three buckets that I did. So it's the people that have their hair on fire, their business is growing like crazy because of everything that's going on, and they're going through a massive growth cycle. So you need to help them. You need to go target them. And then it's the ideal client profile grouping, but they're taking a hit a little bit. And so you have to continue to nurture them. You have to continue to reach out to them, let them know that you're there. And then the third one is kind of everybody else. And so, we kind of know of this process called the blue ocean strategy. You're trying to get out of where everybody else is fighting over price and product and all these different things. Everybody's in this same portion of the water. So you try and get out to the blue ocean, which is either a distinguishing factor that you have as a business, some offering that is uniquely different than everyone else, or it's just you have a unique insight into, hey, there's a specific group of there's a specific industry that we serve really well that is booming right now. And so, I've made the joke that it may not be a blue ocean anymore. It may be a blue puddle, but you focus real hard on that blue puddle. That's the way that you get out of the slump, is just making sure that you're doing everything that you can with every resource that you have to focus on the people that are growing like crazy and are in, really dire need of the services that you offer.
Let me throw you a curveball. And I know I didn't tell you that I prepped you for this.
Let me get some espresso.
Would you ever walk away from a sale if you felt that it did not serve the client's best interest?
Absolutely. No hesitation. If it doesn't serve their best interest and it's just a sale for the sake of a sale, I don't have enough room to do that. Our team isn't set up that way, A, and B, I don't want to sell people things that it's actually not in their best interest.
Same here.
It's just not going to work out long term. That whole, the equity in your brand and the equity in your personal brand is too valuable to go through that process when it's at the start doomed for failure. Right. And so for those reasons, I would not take, or I would not onboard a new client when I know that it's not in their best interest to work with us. And they may have a need. It may resemble something like what we do, but it's just not, it's not a fit. Let me go spend an hour finding them somebody that actually does, because there's a whole host of people that do things that are similar to what we do. However, can't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Same here. So what do you got for me? I know this is ABC chat, so I know you got something for me.
Yes. Let me dig it up. So, we were talking before about the way that, the way that organizations are training people. And one of the key themes of that was mentorship. Who has been your best professional mentor thus far? And were they inside or outside of your organization? So part one is, who was your best mentor? Give them a shout out. And then, let's talk a little bit about them. Were they inside your organization, outside your organization? Has it looked differently in the past? What is it today? That's my question, number one.
I think for me, best professional mentor is probably, I would say there's two people. I think the first one is my mother, and I know that's probably not a common answer, but it has been a struggle. And I'll be honest with you, it has been a struggle to find a leader that will embrace you and not be threatened by you, and at the same time will devote time to really develop you, right? Because we didn't just get here overnight, right? Like there was a 2017 for you and me, right? Right. There was a lot of road trips, not coming home. So, to have a leader that has the time, willing to devote the time, willing to invest and help guide you, because mentorship, it's really professional parenting. That's really what it is, right? So I think that's why I took my mother. Now, I would say the closest that I probably had is probably two individuals. The first one, Mike Lee. I think you met Mike, CEO of Kane County Teachers Credit Union. Jim Hushkamp, CEO of Black Hawk Bank. These two have been probably the most transparent. I mean, really just outstanding human beings, individuals who have gave me, the hard conversations. Even when I tried to sell to them, it wasn't like a pushover thing. They were just completely honest. I will say that these two have probably invested the most. But it's hard because I don't know if I've ever officially labeled somebody as my mentor. I wish I could truthfully, I was thinking, I was like, man, I wish I could truthfully say, but I can't, right? I just for whatever reason, can't. But it is always, for whatever reason, if I've had instruction, I think that's the best way to say it. It's always come out externally versus internally. Yeah. I think internally, the problem with internal conversation is that everybody is covering their own behind, right? Like everybody is focused on their own survival versus what's actually going to make the organization better, what's actually going to make the team better, what's going to make you better. So if I have to take away that aspect of having not just a sounding board, but an advisor, an internal coach that is not going to show up on your performance evaluation, but will help you get to the metrics you need to get to, that's hard. And a lot of people don't want to take that responsibility. And I really think it's not because necessarily they're bad or they're good. I don't think it's a bad good. I think the way that businesses are set up, they're not allowed to really extend that reach. You know what I'm saying? Like if they do have
sales teams aren't set up that way.
Yeah. If they do have a mentorship program, it doesn't factor into their eval, right? So if I'm not getting evaluated on it, why should I pay attention to it? There's really nothing that says analytically I'm supposed to help the next person. And that's just the God honest truth. So to answer that question, I would say it's probably been those two individuals as far as Mike, Jim, but as far as an official mentor, it has been my mother above all.
Yeah. Right on. All right. Question number 2.
Gotcha.
The greatest lesson from the COVID era thus far. So, anything that you've learned, anything that you've picked up on, either about yourself, about your industry, about your practice as a salesperson, what's been the greatest lesson that you've learned thus far? And, I know that pretty much everything's changed for us in the way that we go about selling. But, when that phrase comes on of you are now free to move about the cabin,
right? When
there's a little bit more room for us to go about and kind of regain some normalcy, maybe go back a little bit to the way that it, was before.
Right.
Is there anything that you're just going to say, no, I'm not doing it that way any longer. I've found a new way during this pandemic and I'm continuing that. So biggest lesson that you've learned and the thing that you're going to hold on to because of it.
I will say, I'll try to answer this in four parts. The biggest lesson I've learned so far in the industry, I have learned that you can't escape the facts. And that's why I asked you, I was like, would you be willing to walk away from something? So, like everything, there's always going to be a need to buy because it's an efficiency scale of model, right? So if this is going to help me achieve this, therefore I save more money in the long term, or it addresses a certain situation, I have to invest in it. But because that has been so negatively impacted, I realized that I first have to be sensitive to the fact that their budget has been totally chopped down, right? Whatever is left, I'm competing against at least 5 other companies. There's 5 other people like this, right? There's 5 other sellers out there trying to get in. And I have to have that in the back of my mind. Now, the problem with that is I have to make sure my relationship is there so that I can have complete transparency. The worst thing is I always feel like this. You have the right to say no. Just don't waste my time. You know, like, and when I mean by that, and it's not insensitive, because when I call you, I apologize. First, I interrupted your day. You don't know me from Adam, you know, so I'm already intruding. I would never present garbage. And if you agree to continue, just don't leave me hanging, right? So that's the first thing I learned from an industry standpoint, just understanding the market conditions. From a self standpoint from COVID, I think what I've learned is that business is not separate from life, right? And sometimes we like to compartmentalize and put, well, this is my professional life. This is my business life. This is my academic life. But the reality is you are the same person. You might, you know, there's things obviously you're going to vary, but for the most part, you're the same individual in whatever area that you're acting in. So for myself, I had to really understand how a pandemic or just how life can impact you, and mental health has become a thing. I had to realize that PTO is not a bad word.
Right.
You know, I have to take my day. Right. If I'm overwhelmed and I can't perform, I have to utilize this, because ignoring it and trying to just press down the gas, you will burn out and burn bridges, because you'll forget. There's no way you'll forget to develop certain presentations. I just thought of a presentation I got to develop, you know, so you'll forget literally, like, and that's what I'm saying. You'll forget in the midst. And then when it's time to perform, you can't. So you have to take time for yourself. From a sales point, I will never, ever be so aggressive that I prefer my goals or my analytics over the person on the phone. That doesn't work for a lot of organizations. Right. I have had conversations with C-level buyers, with S-level buyers, and they told me that they just lost one of their team members to COVID. I've had conversations with organizations that they got a relative in the hospital. And I get it. We have a deadline. I get it. We got to build this pipeline. But if I press that gas because my goal, my quota is more important than the individual on the other end, because as the old adage goes, there's no friends in sales. Who am I? You know what I'm saying? Like I from an ethical standpoint, I cannot justify that type of selfishness. I get it. There are some individuals who can throw that out the window and say, look, it is what it is. You know, pardon the pun, you know, and just keep pushing forward, and, you know, it doesn't faze them. But for me, I have to connect. I have to, as a human being, I feel like my persona, my personal brand is just as equal as the brand that I'm pushing. And if I'm willing to jeopardize my integrity for this quota, it's just not worth it. So that's for me from a practice standpoint. Right. Now, like you said, light is at the end of the tunnel. Things that I would do versus kind of would not do, or not, you know, kind of engage in. I do not believe in, how do you say this? I don't believe in random attempts to contact. I do believe in being persistent and consistent and being creative. I believe in things like this. I don't believe, however, trying to go in through the back door. And you and me know, you know, there is a path to get to that goal. If that, I don't believe in trying to go into the back door to force who I want to make the decision, right? I think that practice is a timeout for that. And that just goes back to being, I think what people are going to recognize, what organizations are going to recognize is how you treated them during this stretch, right? How you were as a person and how not only did you perform, how did the product perform? And if the sales professional and the product are not on the same level, it's a disaster. So that's, to me, those are the main areas of, I would probably say, focuses that, I would really keep on the forefront of my mind and practices that I would do or stop doing. I hope that answers it.
That's my 2 questions right now. It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I too have a bonus question for you.
Gotcha.
And this goes just a little bit outside of the realm of sales.
All right.
But I think it's a pretty important question to ask. And I just want your honest perspective.
Gotcha.
We're still, in the midst of everything with the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
And it's, it has been important. It will always be important.
Right.
I'm trying to deploy the approach of listen, learn, and love.
Yeah.
If you just kind of break that down and create the connection in between Black Lives Matter, listen to what the Black experience is, because it's not my experience. So I have to listen to that. I have to be open to hear that. I have to be open to all of that.
Right.
Learn about their lives, learn about just learn about everything, right? Learn about what's going on in their life. And it may look different than mine. It probably is. There's different things that are going on in your life that are happening in my life. It's because we're different people, but I need to understand and I need to learn more so that I can actually have that understanding. And then love, you can't really say that something matters to you.
Right.
You can't say that something that you love matters to you unless you go through those first 2 steps. So listen, learn, love has been what I've been trying to do, and that I've been having my wife and my girls, and that's kind of the lens by which we're looking through it. Mm-hmm. Cody, what are we missing? What is it that I can do better? How is it that I can be better? Yeah. What is it that you need people to hear? That's my question.
That's a great one. I personally, for you, Alex, you have been what all of us should aspire to be. Even before we connected, before we went on our sales trip to Robbins, Illinois, and I don't even know, just way down by Indiana.
Somewhere. Yeah,
somewhere. Before this friendship bloomed, you were fair. And that is something that is missing from the heart of, I think, business practices, from the heart of America. And that starts at home. Like you said, you started with your girls, all that fairness, just giving somebody the benefit of a doubt solves 98% of the problems. When it comes to organizations, the problem is it's hard to address or adopt or make a stance and say Black Lives Matter, but you're not willing to address the elephants in the room. When you ask me the mentorship question, well, one of the problems is if you're the only Black guy or Black person in the office, even though it shouldn't matter, but you'd be surprised. Sometimes natural gravitation, somebody willing to put their arms around you. Sometimes you don't, others might not know what to say or how to interpret. Right. So having representation in management and executive leadership solves a lot of that issues. And when you don't have that, when you have your top 500 Fortune companies and only out of the 500 CEOs, 8 of them are of color, of Black people. So you're talking about 0.4, I think is like 0.04%, right? So, I mean, when you have less than 1% of the nation's executive leadership actually looks like me or some variation of me, it's going to be internally problematic. It just is. And I'm not saying like develop a quota system. I'm not saying that, but I am saying we have to look hard at why. And I don't know what the why is. I think I know what the why is, but we really have to look hard at the why, because It's one thing for organizations to make a statement. It's another thing for them to donate money, and all that is needed and all that is wanted. It's another thing to get Juneteenth off, and thank God for it. But when it comes down to it, is it really about equality? Not understanding or recognizing value as far as existence, right? So if it's about equality, then you have to say, I looked at my, S levels, director levels, C levels, and, my diversity analytics are way off. Why? Is it because we're not targeting certain schools, certain areas? Why is there so much homogeneousness or homogeneity within the corporate ranks? And that is really where you start. And I haven't seen from really any organization, maybe other than Amazon, that has pushed the changing of executive leadership, right? The evolving of it. And I think the other thing we have to recognize is if I win, you win. It's not this, the old saying goes, when the tide rises, all ships sails. That's true. If we're just asking for a boat, so when the tide rises, we can sail too, just give them a boat. It's not this, if I win, oh my God, I'm gonna lose everything. Nobody has ever advocated for that. It's just that, are we really being fair in our policies, in our practices, in our evaluations? Do we really give honest and truthful benefit of a doubt when it comes to anything? Is there a double standard? And maybe one can argue it's not the organization's job, and that's a fair argument. Organizations are not designed, when somebody starts up, like I want to sell, no, I'm not sponsored by this, but I want to sell water. You know what I'm saying?
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless, right. Hey, Smart Water, give me a call. But they're not designing their company to say, let's take on the global impact and the global problems of the world. So I totally get that. But when you're dealing with people and when you have such a breadth of reach and you're impacting lives, you do have to look internally at your processes and say, and just have an answer for it. Even if it's not the greatest answer, which is fine. There's no perfect entity, organization, or person. I'm not about you having a perfect answer, but it is about having an answer. And then from that answer, developing processes to make sure we can have a better tomorrow. And I think if organizations can adopt that, you can really get through this. I think what's happening now, and I've had this conversation, we're trying to get back to business as usual, but business as usual in light of things is detrimental to that cause. So you have to do both simultaneously, and it can be done. Organizations just have to want to have it. They have to want to be able to look and diversify. Diversity really has to mean something honestly to them, and it's not a talking point, and it's not a barometer that they just check off. And if it becomes desired and holistically just wanted like that, I won't say all the world's problems, but you'll be able to really tackle a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you'll be able to get a lot farther than we are today. And I think you brought up a good point whenever you start just looking at the sheer numbers of everything. Mm-hmm. I look at the words equality and I look at the word equity, and equity is just what's my slice of the pie, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that those two things, I think we need to be talking about that a little bit more, that there is not an equal equity stake, that those things do need to be addressed. We do need to have the hard conversations. We do need to, from all sides of the table, listen and learn and love. And I think that we're going to make a lot of progress if we do that. That, like I said, that's what I'm trying to take it that way. My wife is Latina, and so we have one daughter that looks like me, and then we have another daughter that looks like her. And I, just knowing what's going on, they're going to have different experiences. If you send them into the same room, right, and they don't know that they're sisters, they're going to have a different experience. And it's just the way that it is. And so I'm trying to teach that. I'm trying to instill that into them, that, that is not the thing that makes you different than somebody else just because you look a little bit different. Right. Everyone is different from each other, yet we are all made in the image of God. So we need to make that known, and we need to treat everybody accordingly. Right. And so, that's what I'm trying to do with my 3 and 2-year-old. And so if there's anything that comes up, if there's anything that you think that we should be doing different, I'm all ears, man, because this is not something that is important to me on, the professional level. It's, here at home too.
I appreciate that. I got your cell phone number. So if anything comes to my mind,
yeah,
I'll buddy. Text really quick. Well, look, I know we scheduled for 30 minutes. Where can they connect with you? Give them your Twitter feed. Give them your LinkedIn address. Where can they hit you up? I'll put the link in the post production video.
Yeah. Twitter, IAB23. And then on LinkedIn was where I spend the most of my time. It's LinkedIn-A-Brockman. So just look up Alexander Brockman CSG on LinkedIn or AB Chats, and you'll find me somehow, some way. So just look for the guy in the vest, and that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. And he's got a YouTube page, guys, and this video, as soon as it gets done, will be up on there. So connect with him, connect with me. I look forward to it. Alex, thanks again. I appreciate it. Look, tomorrow's episode, the future of fitness. I have some amazing guests. And then Wednesday's episode, the future of sports. I got to talk about Patrick Mahomes' $503 million contract. So that's major, but I appreciate it, guys. Until next time. Thanks.
Peace.